Welcome to another Reaction Monday here on SDH AM. John, hear you there. Thanks for hanging out as you always do. Oh, I forgot to turn that on. So, what's on your mind? We do have some things that we are going to be getting into this morning, obviously. Hopefully, you are staying as cool and as dry as humanly possible in these conditions. So, obviously, we're going to be talking about Atlanta, New England. I have been warned by 92.9 The Game's Abe Gordon that he's coming in hot, as I'm sure a lot of you are and have been since the weekend. So Abe has warned me he's coming in hot. He'll be in hour number one. And then you have Bart Keeler is going to be joining us in hour number two. We do have some things to get into with Bart. The U20s are underway in CONCACAF. The U.S., they had no issues against Haiti in their first match in the group stage. We'll have highlights coming up later on in the show. Tomorrow we will have an examination, probably is the best word that I could use, and it will be on what Haiti is going through as a nation and how it is a part of the dynamic that is attached to what we're seeing here on the football field. We saw it in the World Cup. We're now seeing it in the U20s, CONCACAF Nations League. That draw happened last week. So you may remember from Morehouse, Professor Howard Jean-Denis. He'll be joining us tomorrow, and he will be kind of breaking down what the Haitian diaspora, and he will educate us on what they've been going through over the last 5 years on the field and then beyond. So that will be the conversation we're going to have at 10:30 tomorrow. KCD should be joining us at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Andrea Arnold, city manager of the city of Decatur, is going to be joining us at 9:30 tomorrow to talk about Watch Fest and World Cup now that folks have actually had time to vacation a little bit and get into just kind of catch their breath after what happened after the last 7 weeks or 8 weeks, really. So that's going to be tomorrow. Today we're going to look at Atlanta United. Everybody just get it out. Just let me know. Just what's on your mind. And it is just like I said, after what happened in New England, traditionally, he's 9:15. Traditionally. I didn't even get into an opening monologue. I just kind of gave you what's going to be going on the next day or so. And so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to open the bay doors, Hal. We're bringing in Abe. Abe has warned me, and I have warned everyone else. So I will go ahead and, like I said, I know it's coming. I know what's coming. I just don't know in what form it's coming. So, sir, I yield the floor as our discussion begins on a Monday.
Yeah, I mean, look, the only thing that could be worse than what we saw Saturday would be losing this coming Saturday to the other worst team in MLS. And so you want to change our minds, you want to change any path or direction of this season, you better not come home with 0 points in Philadelphia. I don't give a crap if it's a road game and we look for 1 out on the road and 3 at home. We're way beyond that. And it was an atrocious effort in New England. And it's frustrating because you could make some optimistic, positive comments despite a loss in Nashville. I thought you played really well coming out of that break. You gave up a goal. That happens, whatever. You obviously fight back against Charlotte, a game that you were dreadful, in my opinion, in the first half, non-competitive once they scored 15 minutes in. But you're able to fight back in the second half, and then you're sitting there, and me and Maddie talked about it, like, combine the two efforts, right? Like combine the performance from the game against Nashville with the second half fight, resolve, and results of the match against Charlotte. And maybe you found something and you go out there and you lay a complete egg, a total goose egg. And it's a non-competitive performance. We're back to just dreadful mistakes along the back line. And however many times I try and be optimistic about this team, they're the worst team in MLS. And we're starting to get now where it's not like just some crazy sample size or a lengthy road trip or anything like that. I understand that they're down some players in the back line due to visa issues, yellow card suspensions, injuries. I understand that they're down some players in the midfield due to injuries and upcoming due to national team duty. That's fine. That's all an excuse. Like, other teams have issues too. It's all an excuse. This is, in my opinion, probably the lowest point until Saturday, which will become the new lowest point in franchise history. There's no reason for me to believe that it's getting turned around. I understand that there's transfer windows and the like coming, but you've added defensive players that's certainly not going to help you score goals. And I've talked with you about this before, John. Like, I'm not going to believe that there's an attacker that comes in here and is actually going to score goals until he's here and scoring goals, because we've gotten excited about transfers in and out before, and they didn't do what we expected them to do. And then you had to adjust time and time again for 3-4 seasons now. Yeah, you had a great run a couple of years ago in the playoffs, and you lost to NYCFC. It was awesome to eliminate Messi. Like, that's been the lone bright spot. It was like a 5-game stretch 3 seasons ago, and it's just gotten worse and worse from there.
Rodrigo Rios, after the match, he was the assistant, not Jorge Keeler, but Rodrigo Rios was the one that was answering the questions after the match. Was asked on what changed versus the last match against Charlotte. Quote, I think we couldn't recover physically. You see, in the first half, we played pretty well, created some chances, but in the moment when you need that power and close that space and be more aggressive individually and collectively, we couldn't do it tonight. We didn't have the players to rotate. That was the change. We created a lot with the ball, but defensively, we couldn't recover the ball as we did in the previous game, end quote. Then, on the lack of energy to start the second half and the options to change off the bench, quote, that's what you can see on our bench. We had a lot of young guys that are training with us. We're part of the preseason, but they're still young. Not only on the bench, we're talking about guys like Cooper Sanchez, who's really young. We put up a lot of responsibility on him. His output physically is over the charts every game, and we keep demanding from him, and he keeps pushing himself. It's not fair. We wish we had more players that can do that role in the middle of the field or in every position, end quote.
Yeah, man, he's 18 years old. He recovers. Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, if there's one guy that you can yell at me about, like, being overworked, it's not going to be the youngest guy on the team who's carrying no extra weight, not physically, certainly mentally and responsibility, sure, but if anyone is recovering in time from Friday, Wednesday, Saturday, it's Cooper. It's Will Riley. It's the youngest guys on these teams. And so, look, I understand their theoretical excuses here. But, like, we've had games where you had players that you could sub in. They're not good enough, and they don't come in and give any spark that you want. If anything, the guy that most consistently gives you a spark is probably Cayman Togashi. And so I'd like to see him start. No, I didn't see anything wrong with what Fafa Pico did, but, you know, I'm ready to see Togashi, and I don't care. The kid just woke up on 4 hours of sleep and scored a brace for the Twos the other day. Like put him in. Like, what are we doing? We can't score goals. And look, I think you can criticize Miguel Almiron a little bit for some defensive stuff, but, like, I thought that was his best game in terms of being dangerous, and even he couldn't get one. He got one late, but, you know, obviously he hit the post once. Turner comes up with a great save. I thought, if anything, Miguel was a little bit dangerous for once, but ultimately just the one goal right at the very end when it's already 4-0. So, like, do something, try something, like, whatever you're running out there, like 4-1. And look, New England's a good team. They're top 5 in the Eastern Conference. They're going to make the playoffs, all that, host the playoff series, if not more than one. Good for them. But, like, this was a pathetic effort. Like, lose 2-0, lose 2-1, that's fine. You're down 4-0 in this game. Like, 4-0. And half of it is just because guys on defense stopped running. And look, it's more than just the final touch that's critical, right? There's stuff in the midfield. There's turnovers that lead to it, all sorts of things. But, like, this was a pathetic effort. And it's fine if you have pathetic effort building after pathetic effort. What's frustrating is that this one came off of a good performance in Nashville, a recovery from down 2 goals against Charlotte, and you maybe wanted to argue that you were building something off of the World Cup break. That's gone. That's all gone now. You're halfway through the season, and the second half's going to be an absolute drudge unless you actually can get some transfers in here that are going to remake the attack, which, at this point, again, that's a tough sell until it's actually there.
There have been reports, nothing concrete, surfaced again yesterday where it appears that West Ham may be interested in Latte Lot. They may be wanting to turn the interest in Latte Lot into a bit of a competition with Burnley in the EFL Championship. Burnley, apparently, from published reports overseas, is loaned with an option to buy, and West Ham apparently is wanting to add more money to the deal or something like that. And so once again, since we're here in this window and the folks in Europe, they've got a little bit of time, but not a lot, to figure out what they want to do. You've got Latte Lot, who did not make the trip. He's now part of discussions overseas. To your point, obviously, I know a lot of folks would be interested in seeing Cayman Togashi up top. I know a lot of folks would be interested in seeing Arif Kovac up top. There are a handful of players, and I mean, you could have this discussion with me or Maddie or Jason. You look at someone like an Andrew Hardinas. You look at Adrian Gill with what they've been doing in the midfield as the two midfielders in front of your back four. Cameron Dunbar is another example with the twos that has been doing really well. He had more of a free-floating role yesterday in the win over NYCFC II, but Dunbar traditionally on the left-hand side. I think that there is a case that can be made for bringing up the twos players, and Gill's on a first-team deal, so he wouldn't count on the short-term agreements, but it also reinforces the silliness of the short-term agreement rule. But I think that, yeah, you're getting to that point to where you need to see a Togashi. You need to see Fafa Pico starting regularly. You need to getting those regular reps to try and find someone out there that can get you the rhythm that you're looking for in and around the injuries and the injuries in the midfield and on defense and the ineffectiveness that you have currently in scoring.
But I just don't know what the argument against it is. Like, you already know what you're getting from the guys that are out there. It's not good enough. You're not scoring goals. You're not breaking up transition plays. It's not good enough. Like, it's not going to get worse with the younger guys. And if it is, who cares? You lost 4-1. What is 6-1 that much worse than 4-1? You know what I mean? Like, well, let's find out.
To your point, this is the other quote that was released from Coach Rios after the match. Why some of the players on STAs didn't come in the matchup in New England. Quote, "We brought those players because we don't have many others on the roster currently. We believe in the long term that they can help the team and we can develop those players. The travel experience being around the first team players is going to help them develop and get them ready for when we need them. We don't think it would be fair that in a game where we are down 2-0 to put the responsibility on those players and go on and fix the problem or solve what the main players or starters were not able to solve." And this is Rios again. "I think Tata is really mindful and how to handle the youth players coming to the first team, not only in training, but in games and when you can play them and not hurt them with the development."
So don't put them in when you're down 2-0. Put them in when it's 0-0 at the start of the game. Like, right. And I understand what the suggestion is there, but again, like, are we such a bad organization that playing at the best level is hampering development? Like that's a problem if that's the true case. Because at some point you have to just be results are not relevant here, and I think playing at this level can help out more. And I think it's always a situation where you got 17 games left, right? You've got 17 played, 17 left. You can always go back on it and throw them back down to the twos if 4 or 5 games in it's really that bad, but. I mean, again, results-wise, you got 0 points here. You got 0 points at Nashville. Yes, you got 1 point against Charlotte. I'm not really concerned about the results. I just want to try literally anything than what they're just throwing out there now, because you've been doing it all season. It hasn't worked. Latte Loth is obviously, no longer of interest here. And when he gets moved, and then you can do some more personnel stuff. But there's just so many players right now that I'm like, why are we keep running these guys out there? Because and mainly up top, I just rather see younger guys be given a chance. Like, goal scorers can score goals, man. Like, if there's one place I think a young guy can come in and kind of not be overwhelmed, kind of do what he does on a, if you want to call it the lower level, it's up top. It's where the responsibility is probably smallest, if we're going to be honest. So I would rather see that than Sergio Santos, who's out with a calf, or Fafa Pico. Like, I would give someone who's scoring goals at the lower levels the opportunity.
When it comes to this roster, all things being even, I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about who's playing. I'm talking about who's on the roster, health or no. On this roster, who do you feel is worthy of being a part of this roster going forward?
Yeah, I want to see more from Matt Edwards. He kind of feels like generally an odd man out. I know he was thrust into competition just because of the yellow card suspension, Thomas Jacob, but I want to see more from Matt Edwards. And there's a couple of places. You could do it as a center back. You could do it as an outside back. I actually think he could play in the midfield as well, and so I'm interested in that. Obviously, Cooper Sanchez is continuing. When Jay Fortune is healthy, there's that. I'm ready to go ahead and make a keeper change and get a look at Jaden Hibbert a little bit longer. The guys that are on the current roster, not short-term call-ups or whatever. I mean, that almost might be it. Will Riley needs something else. I don't know what it is. I don't know if just there's not enough support around him, but he's having a rough go right now. I don't know if there's a position change that would suit him better or what, but he's causing some issues there. So, yeah, I mean, Matt Edwards, Jay Fortune, Jaden Hibbert, Cooper Sanchez, I would start with those four. And then, yeah, I would make changes up top. This is not including like Alexi, who obviously has done the job, but just in terms of younger guys I'd like to see. Other than those four plus Alexi, like, I don't know, I'm not like really tied or locked into like anyone else that just has to be part of this roster. So, look, I think Elias Baez has been fine. I think Thomas Jacob has been very good. A mixed bag with the center backs, but it's not working. Like, it's just not working. And so it's just another season down the drain. This isn't the NFL. Like, being the wooden spoon isn't some great prize where you get the number one draft pick and you got a quarterback to lead your franchise. Like, it doesn't work like that. So there's not even a benefit to, like, quote, actively tanking, which is even sadder. Like, this team's not actively tanking. They're trying to win games that are just that bad. So I don't know how you turn it around. If you're going to turn it around, it better darn well be Saturday. Like, that team up there sucks. You suck. So, like, it's a battle of two teams that can't do anything right. And hopefully you can do a little bit more right than they can on Saturday. Because, I mean, my goodness, as frustrating as this past one was, at least New England's a good team. If you get completely outclassed by Philadelphia, like, I might just come in here and just sit in silence for 15 minutes until 9:30 next week without anything to say. And then we can move forward.
Well, that really doesn't make for good TV now.
No, it doesn't.
There are a lot of decisions that Chris Henderson and the front office and the coaching staff will make at the end of this season. You have Tristan Muyenba, who has an option year after this. Pedro Amador, who has an option year after this. Ronald Hernandez has an option year after this. Jaden Hibbert has 2 option years after this. Lucas Hoyos has the sprint season and 27-28 options after this. Fafa Pico has the sprint season option after this. Sergio Santos has the 27 option after this. Cayman Togashi is out of contract. You do have some questions in the supplementals. Matt Edwards option year after this. Jay Fortune is out of contract. Santi Pizza, you have option years to pick up after this. Will Riley, you have option years. Cooper Sanchez, you have option years. Ashton Gordon, you have option years. So there are some decisions to be made about options to be picked up as you head into the sprint season. I believe there were as many as 14 decisions that could be made on this roster heading into, and this is just dealing with contracts, not with assets, but with dealing with contracts, that there are decisions that can be made or need to be made at the end of this season.
Yeah, and look, the sprint season is going to be its own little thing, anyways. I think the sample size completely screws up a lot of things in terms of who can and will or won't get to the play. I mean, you have a run of 3 good games or unexpected performances, you're a playoff team all of a sudden, and so yeah. But at the same time, you can't really look at it that way. You have to kind of look for long-term futures. And again, like how many of the guys that you named are ideally parts of the long-term future of this team? Again, no offense to Moyamba. I think last year and this year, he's taken major steps forward based on what we had seen from him earlier in his time with Atlanta United. But I don't know if he's still built for the long term. This is a midfield that is just not good enough defensively or offensively to support the attack or the defense. So I think you need major changes. And if Jay Fortune can't stay healthy, that's something else you got to look at, because this is a team that sorely needs him in his development. And it feels like year after year after, he's got, like, obviously he's not Ronald Acuna, but like it kind of feels like that. Every time you get a 2 or 3 game stretch from him, he's back out for a month plus. So he's got to stay healthy, or I don't know if you can consider him as reliable as you want him to be, because you do want him to be there for you. But again, we say it in every sport, the best ability is availability.
Yes. So you feel better?
I'll let you know post game Saturday night. Like if they lose to Philadelphia, I like, we could still kind of try and make an argument here, an argument there for like, well, maybe they aren't the worst team in MLS. Like if you lose to Philadelphia, I don't care that it's on the road. Like all arguments are gone. If there are any arguments left, all arguments will be gone Saturday night. So, look, it's just a bummer because we came out of the World Cup. I thought you played well in one game. I thought you got a result in the other. And it's like, okay, like, can you figure something out? And they didn't figure anything out. And so now you're left with like one more performance. And again, if you lose to Philly, like just end the season. Like just what's at that point, what's the point? I mean, forfeiting, I don't know what the MLS rules are for forfeits, but like in rec league, if you forfeit, it's 3-0 to the opponents. Like that might be better than some of the score lines coming up. So I would consider it.
You and I, we have our back and forth, and I will stipulate to this. And I know that you are a very passionate individual, and that is why we love having you batting leadoff on Monday.
It's mostly I just can't believe the franchise is this bad. Like it because I open every year with optimism. I came out of the World Cup break with optimism. And like through 2 games, I was still like making arguments for optimism. And then like in one performance against New England, I'm like, well, that's all gone. It's right back to the dread of where we were, pre-World Cup break.
No, okay. And like I said, I understand where you're coming from. There are some points that you and I will respectfully disagree. And that is why I have you in here to discuss this as one of the markers that we have when it comes to our opinions on a week-by-week basis. And I appreciate you coming in for the back and forth. And I appreciate you coming in here to defend your positions as you always do. Because if you and I went down the rabbit hole and it turned it into, the people's court, it would be 90 minutes and we'd be having these kinds of discussions. But I wanted to have you say the piece, and I think that your opinion is shared by a boatload of folks, especially those in the Twitch pitch. And that's why I wanted to have you. That's why I always enjoy having you come in here to bat leadoff every week, to get all this stuff off your chest, to help with group therapy, to help with Reaction Monday. Because I don't want you hanging on to that negativity, man. Just have it come out, and it's out there in the open for you. That weight is off your chest on a Monday.
Yeah, and look, like I'm flowing with the tides. Like today was a bad one, Saturday was a bad one, and I think you can change things and make me feel different about the last 16 games if you do something here in this 17th remaining game against Philly. So like it's going to come and go, but like I can only analyze from like an analytical mindset for so much before like fanhood takes over, and I'm just suffering with everyone else. Unfortunately, we don't want to be like, that's the thing. none of us are, again, this isn't the NFL. You don't root for your team to lose because you get the number one overall. Like, no one wants to be in this position. No one's happy that Latte Loft isn't working out. No one's happy that, whatever the situation isn't going well or isn't performing at the level you wanted it to be. Like, no one here is happy about it. Like, we're all suffering for the same reasons. We just want this club to be competitive again. Like, obviously, when it was hot and rolling those first couple of years, like, it was unlike anything you would ever see. But even the years after that, when you were still, all right, you're not, the team to beat here, but you're going to be a 6 seed and maybe you get hot there in the playoffs or whatever. Like, you can at least make arguments through the course of the year that there's something to look forward to. And now it's just like this, I hate to use the term, but it's like a 17-game death march until the season's over.
Well, and that's the challenge that has been put forth by the front office and by the players themselves that you challenge on a daily basis up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. What are you up to today? Are you just going to continue venting your spleen for the entire day? What's up?
Well, luckily, Atlanta United is, as you might guess, not the largest part of our show.
What?
I know, it's crazy. One Atlanta team did actually win a couple of games this week, the Atlanta Braves, so we'll be talking about that. And then the other most frustrating team in Atlanta sports, the Falcons, they get training camp going this week. So we'll be up there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll let you know if there's a quarterback competition. I don't know what's going on with that.
Hey, look, I've got Jalen Hurts starting as my fantasy quarterback, and I've got a couple, including one that is up there at the branch that is on my reserves just to get me reps and bye weeks. So trust me, I know of what you speak.
Yes. So, no, looking forward to it. And then we've got, obviously, pregame, postgame for Philly on the weekend. So we'll see if we'll see if the tone's a little bit different Saturday night.
Roger that. All right. As always, my friend, great to see you. Proper hydration as always, and we will catch up with you when you want to crash the party.
You got it, John. Have a good rest of the program.
There we go. Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. And it's going to be Bart at 10, and it looks like our friend Tyler Terrens from Big FOX is going to be joining us at 10:30. We tried to have Tyler on during the World Cup, and he had some family things that he needed to take care of. And as we always say around here, family is priority. So Tyler looks like he's going to be crashing about 10:30. So that's the rundown for the morning, and nothing like surprise guests as they come in and wander. So that's the rundown for the morning. All right, so let's unpack what Abe had to say about what he saw on the weekend. And I know that, like I said, I know that some of what he says is hyperbole. At least I hope it is. We are to the point in the season where, and I will disagree respectfully on a couple of points involving the game in and of itself, and the week, and especially the conditioning of an athlete 3 times. You know that Cooper Sanchez, and Cooper came up as part of the conversation, but playing at that level 3 times in 8 days is not the easiest thing in the world. And especially when you don't have appropriate recovery time to get everything back to square so you can go back and you can be an active part of a starting 11. So how are my days off? Abby, that's funny. That's good. But specifically when you are an athlete, the week I'm imagining went like this. You play on Saturday night. You are coming home late night, early morning Sunday. So if we go back, then you end up with a decent result. You end up with a good 80 minutes in Nashville, but you do not get you don't get any points from your efforts because of the goal that was scored with 10 minutes to go. So you come home late Sunday. Sunday is a recovery day. Then Monday it's practice. Then Tuesday it's practice and travel. Wednesday is match day. Then you turn around and come home again late Wednesday night. Thursday is a recovery day. but you are still in Charlotte because, remember, they did not come home. And this is, like I said, this is just this week. So any athlete that was attached to Atlanta United, you start with the match on Saturday, come home late Sunday, maybe do some recovery work, some light regen Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. Monday, practice. Tuesday, up to Charlotte late after practice. Wednesday, you're in town. You're kind of, waiting for match day to happen. Match day happens. You stay in Charlotte Thursday, Friday for practice, more like regen, video, practice. Then Friday, I believe, you fly up to suburban Boston. You go in. You're there in Boston. And you end up Saturday, doing maybe walkthroughs and what have you in the hotel. And then you end up game. And then you come home, and you're home about 3 o'clock on Sunday morning. There's not a lot of time for regen and recovery. You're basically going on autopilot. And I'm talking just any athlete that was going for that full 90 minutes. But if you use Cooper Sanchez as your idea, he's still trying to get adjusted to being a starter in Major League Soccer. Yes, Cooper wants to play 90 minutes 3 times a week. That's who he is as an individual. He wants to be there for his team. You put me out there, I'll give you my best. All that. 90 minutes, 3 days, 3 matches in 8 days. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 3 matches in an 8-day period. Not a lot of regen that's attached to it when you're all on the road. So any athlete that was attached to it, that's going to be a tough slog. And I appreciate Abe's thoughts on youthful exuberance, but it still doesn't matter if you're 18, 19, 30, 31, 32. And Michael Parkhurst is set to join us on Friday. So what I will also do when Michael joins us is I'm going to ask him about playing 3 times in a week, all on the road. So I wrote that down so I don't forget it. There are points that obviously I would go back and forth with Abe on, but what I do not want this show to be is screaming, yelling, ranting, raving by any party, all parties, back and forth. That's not how we do this. Twitch pitch, that's what, you guys having the discussions and bringing points to the table, that's what that's always been about. And I see the frustration, trust me. I see the frustration all morning long. Trust me, I see it. And there are points that are made in the Twitch pitch that, are absolutely valid. Goes back to playing the twos and playing the younger players. And it's going to be a conscious decision, and it's going to have a lot of thought from the front office and from the coaching staff integrating their thoughts in this as to who comes up and when. And you have to be careful because of the antique rules of Major League Soccer. The short-term agreement does not help any team that wants to have their younger players gain appropriate experience and get first-team minutes. The STAs, once again, they're not for players who have first-team deals. So Adrian Gill's on a first-team deal. But for homegrowns and players under contract to the twos, this is an issue. And if I was in the MLSPA, I would bring this up in the next labor negotiation, whenever that is, because you are stunting the growth of younger players who are not under first-team contracts by having short-term agreements exist. Currently, it is 4 call-ups, but you can only be used twice, which to me is counterintuitive to the idea of a call-up. Twice in a short-term call-up arrangement, a short-term agreement, you're basically bringing somebody up to sit just so they can be a benchmarker, basically. Hey, that bench doesn't look quite as full. Now it does. That's the STA. That needs to change. Needs to be more like what you see from the NBA, whether it's a 10-day contract or a 20 or whatever. Having an STA that is basically 4 call-ups and you only get to be used twice is disappointing. To have that as a rule when you have a team with injuries, when you have a team that doesn't have the depth that you currently need, yes, let's activate the short-term agreements on player A, B, C, and D. But because the STA is what it is, you only get to use them for two segments. And the upside in a call-up like this, because it is a 4-day window, is that you could use these players in this particular situation. If you have 2 matches in a 4-day stretch, it counts as 1 call-up. That's the only benefit in this, is that if you had a long road trip and you bring up player A and player B on short-term agreements, having them for that 4-day stretch of those 2 games on the road or 2 games wherever, that only counts as 1 against your number. You need to have a mechanism in place. Warning 4 card. You need to have a mechanism in place where you can have individuals available to you where they can actually go out and learn. They can actually go out and perform. And who knows? If they're offensive, they might get a goal for you. They might get their first professional moment. If they're on defense, they might make a late match save to preserve points or, one way or the other. But right now, the short-term agreement is counterintuitive to having younger players, A, available to you, and B, having them getting the chance to learn on the first team level. So if one of the things that I would look at in a new CBA, and I'll say this right now, whenever that new CBA starts for negotiations, you got to fix the short-term agreement idea. And that was why I also wanted to bring up the idea of what Rodrigo Rios brought up in post-game about not sending, younger players out there and it being, 12 minutes. If you're down 4-0, you go out there for 12 minutes. And if you get goals scored on you or you make a mistake, then it gets compounded mentally and it might affect you longer term than just being out there and getting, hey, here's your MLS debut. So biggest thing for me in all of this that I have discerned is that you've got to fix the STA. Make it a 15-day DL kind of a comparison. Make it a 30-day DL kind of comparison in Major League Baseball, or do something like they do in the NBA. You cannot continue with this because all you're doing is stunting growth and just turning these folks into seat warmers, basically. 2 out of the 4 times they get called up on short-term agreements. So playing into that notion, not wanting to have players come in late, but once again, to Abe's point, go ahead and bring in a Cayman Togashi. I'd like to see what Cayman can do. Cayman is in a contract year. Have Cayman Togashi go out there in a contract year, and then we can sit there and make a decision on quantitative decision on minutes. And if he's not an MLS starter, can he be an effective player on a roster at his position? You bring up an Arif Kovac, but he would once again fall under the notion of the short-termers. And so you'd literally, and to one of Abe's points that he made, you can't just bring everybody up en masse. You can't, if they're not on a first team deal, then it falls under short-term agreements. And if you're either out of short-term agreements and, you have to be able to juggle the short-term agreement with first-team players under contract and figure out who can be used under what situation that would benefit them the most and benefit Atlanta United. So I guess that's something akin to opening kickoff. Something akin to opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories of the game. The right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Things to monitor this week. Obviously, Stian Gregerson went down in the second half, so we'll keep an eye on that. And once again, decisions at the back because of it. What would the health status be? And you're also monitoring an AME high and red cards. You did not have Tomas Jakob available to you because of yellow card accumulation. And so you have all of these things come together and slide into the lineup that was put forth in New England. New England's only lost once this season at home, 7-1-1 going into the matchup with Atlanta United. And it has always been tough sledding for Atlanta up there. Traditionally, they haven't scored a whole lot of goals in New England, in Foxborough, going up against the Revolution up there. It's traditionally been 2-1, 3-1 matches if you look at the history of the matchups. So for Atlanta United, traditionally a tough place to play, compounded by third match in 8 days. And then you look at who's available for you for one reason or another. Obviously, the Carlos Gil continues to be, I think he's 7 goals and 5 assists in all of his matches against Atlanta United. And this is from my perspective. We'll go through the goals. Carlos Gil, to me, in that first one, I think Lucas Hoyos was screened because of the 4 or 5 players that were in front of him, and he's trying to pick up Carlos Gil as Gil's going to his left. I don't think he picked it up until it was too late because he was screened. The Turgeman goal, I think that the ball, as it was sent in the 18 from Peyton Miller, it looked like Fafa Pico had a slight deflection, but either way, Turgeman got to the ball before the defender did at the near post and got it past Hoyos. The third goal with Miller, what was the third goal with Peyton Miller? I'm trying to remember the third goal off the top of my head, and it's fading on me, and I can't remember it. But the fourth goal was the Brooklyn Reigns goal, where he combined with Jackson Ewell, and literally there was a boatload of space between 2 defenders as Brooklyn Reigns had a lot of room to come in to about 30 yards away from goal, dropped it off to Ewell, and then found space between 2 defenders. Ewell placed the pass, and it was past Hoyos for 4. So that was the 4 goals. Like I said, the Peyton Miller goal is one I cannot remember off the top of my head, but that was the pass. Cooper's trying to start something, and it was a bad pass. And so then it was a quick transition opportunity for New England, and they scored. So those are the 4 goals. And so that was the 4 goals in the 4-1. Outside of Miguel Almiron, because of the goal that he scored, highest rated player on the day was Alexei Miranchuk. Created the most chances at 6, most touches in the opposition 18 with 8. 6 chances created by Alexei. So when you look at the 6 chances created by Alexei and you look at the 1 goal on the board that was an oh, by the way, Atlanta United XG 1.66, 17 total shots, 6 on target, 30 touches in the opposition 18 compared to 18 for the Revs. 2 big chances, 1 missed, passed at 90%. 17-11 in shots, 6-4 off target, 6 shots on target, 5 blocks, 1 hit the post, and 10 shots inside the 18, 7 outside the 18. Atlanta also was better in tackles defensively and in interceptions at 10-6, tackles at 18-9, which meant that the Revs had to have 26 clearances compared to 10, 5 blocks, 5 saves for Matt Turner compared to 3 for Hoyos. They also won 42 of 76 of the duels on the day. Obviously, the highest-rated player, Carlos Heel, at an 8.5. Yusuf also had an 8.5. And like I said, Miggy was the highest-rated player for Atlanta United at an 8.3, and Alexei Miranchuk was at an 8 even. But you look at those numbers, and it goes to a larger problem. If you have 17 total shots, 6 on target, almost twice as many opportunities, it's like I think 40% more, 30% more, 30% more touches inside the opposing 18. 1 big chance missed, and I'm guessing that's when Miggy hit the post. You have all of that, and you have an oh, by the way, to show for it. That, to me, is the larger issue here. Once again, with Atlanta United, looking at the numbers on the board. Defensively, Atlanta United this season in Major League Soccer is not the worst defense in Major League Soccer when it comes to goals allowed. They're pretty much middle of the pack. They've only given up 30 goals in 17 games. They've only given up 30 in 17 games. Let me count how many other teams have given up more goals than Atlanta United this season. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 teams out of the 30 in the league have given up more goals than Atlanta United. So I view the issue, obviously, more up front than I do at the back. And I know that Lucas Hoyos has caught a lot of slings and arrows this year, but he's also kept the team in a lot of games and made a lot of saves that probably have not been made by other keepers. But the issue that we all have had in looking at Atlanta United is the offense. Alexei Miranchuk can create all day long. 6 opportunities created once again. Created the most chances in this matchup at 6. How many goals ended up in the back of the net? 1. Oh, by the way, from Miguel Almiron in the 85th. So right now, Atlanta United has the worst offense in Major League Soccer. Kansas City has scored 18. Seattle and Minnesota have scored 19, but they also have given up less goals. They're within 5 goals either way of margin. Seattle's given up 20, Minnesota's given up 24, but they've both only scored 19. So Atlanta United has the worst offense in Major League Soccer right now in terms of productivity. One of the things that I will look up this week is chances created, probably leading into the Philly game. Let me write that down so I don't forget. Chances and chances created for Atlanta United. That's going to be one of my homework assignments this week as we get ready for Philly. I would posit that there are more issues, obviously, and it's like, G. Nelson, you're real obvious. The issues are on offense more than they are on defense. Getting the ball in the back of the net, having folks up top to score. 2 of your 3 big guns and your DPs are not producing. Your third is trying. He's busting his ass. But as the creator and the point guard in all of this, and trying to basically put the team on his back at points, 2 of your 3 DPs have not been producing. So we'll see what happens in this window. Like we said, with Atlanta United, I'm checking to see if there's any update on on Latte Lot. Because like I said, yesterday it was announced in reports West Ham was chasing in addition to Burnley. So yesterday, weighing up a move to hijack, Burnley submitted loan to buy, obligation if they secure promotion to the Prem, understood the strongest offer Atlanta have received so far. West Ham are now considering entering the race with a permanent offer, which could derail the move. So we mentioned it's checking in again with Burnley. And so it's Burnley and West Ham right now, as it is being looked at. And I know that we have had discussions in the past about players being looked at, whether it's players in the Saudi Pro, whether it's Braille and Bolo, take your pick. But for anything like that to go down, it's got to be outbound first before an inbound. It's got to be outbound first before you get an inbound, just because of the financials that are attached. And that is on, and this is just another overarching thing that doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I think you have to expand Major League Soccer's salary structure, whether it's adding a DP, increasing the cap, both of those. Like I said, we can catch up with Tyler Terrence out about this in 30 minutes, and we can get his thoughts on it. But we'll see what the lowdown is. But there are issues, obviously, in scoring, and that to me is where it needs to be addressed first. Defense, you have two young outside backs in Baez and Jacob, who are still learning Major League Soccer, who have shown well early. You have Naomi High, who has proven that he wants to turn things around at center back. You have Junior Alonso, who's coming in, Diaz, who's coming in, and then it's going to obviously take time to get all of that integrated. So once again, if you help out defensively, last time I checked, if nobody scores, then at least you're looking at it from that perspective. Let me say hi to everybody before we get into Bart here with hour number 2. And I do have some cards and calls and situations to discuss with him, including Hell is Real. I guess my rundown would be Hell is Real, Bertarame, and then probably Stuart Hawkins and Kevin Sullivan in Philly and Seattle. So, morning, Michael. Morning, Will. Morning to the OG. Let's see. Morning, Nix. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Morning, Abby. I'm trying to see who is here in this morning. And as I'm scanning. So I'm trying to see if morning, Wiley. Morning, Alex. Let's see. Alex and Wiley and Nix and morning, Joseph Duval. We may. Joseph wants to talk about the World Cup. We may, because Tyler's coming in here at 10:30, and we'll get his discussions on that too. So whatever's on your mind, Joseph. And thanks for coming in. Morning 4 card. And like I said, morning Lokeville. And like I said, the idea is, you're looking at younger players. So morning Will, morning Abby. And Alex, this is, just to let you know, this is the Venezuela earthquake relief shirt. So it's on the back, obviously, and it doesn't do anybody any good to see it. But if I were to turn the shirt around, you'd see the Venezuela earthquake relief shirt. So let's see, Nix and Wiley and OG. And like I said, I'm scanning for people that I have not seen here in the Twitch pitch this morning. And like I said, as always, I really do appreciate that you guys want to come in here and get everything off your chest. Okay, I think we've officially been caught up on people, at least, who are contributing in the Twitch pitch. Now, since it is 10 o'clock, it's time to bring in Bart Keeler, because I do want to talk about the YNT. I do want to talk about the U20s, because we do have highlights from there, from the first matchup against Haiti. And we're going to talk about Haiti more in-depth tomorrow. Maybe a little NWSL. And I do have some cards and calls and chaos and Hell is Real and all this kind of stuff that we got to get into as well. Hi, Bart.
Good morning, John. It is a Monday morning in which we have to talk about Atlanta United being absolute trash again, but we also get to talk about fun things like Hell is Real getting into hellish spillover. That was look, I think we forget that tempers run hot in a rivalry match because when you have two teams that are actually competitive on the field, temperatures do spill over. We haven't seen a competitive team on the field in about 5 years, so we're not used to it. But
there it is.
When that happens, sometimes the locker room scenes then get a little heated as well.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So I'm going to play a little bit of that ending, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer. And it is Jake and Taylor on the call. Here's the tail end, and I think it starts with the Dato Valenzuela outburst.
A red card has been shown to Dato Valenzuela. So initially the yellow was out. It changed to a red, whether that's for something else that happened or for that initial kick out. But there's a lot for Alan Chapman to sort through and deal with right now.
Something was said in the scrum, because as you watch the scrum, Valenzuela says something and then the referee goes to his back pocket. This is for the initial challenge. That is just completely careless, frustration, the fact that he's even arguing anything. But that challenge to me isn't a red card challenge.
Not for you.
No.
Okay.
So something happens, because in the scrum, the referee right here goes to his back pocket. He's right next to him. He's hearing everything. He goes to grab the red card. Anunga's close to him. It falls out of his hand. He grabs it. There's the red card. Now, only he would be able to tell us if it's for the challenge or something that was said. But either way, Dato Valenzuela completely lost the plot.
That kick out, he wasn't going for the ball.
No, listen, you could 100% convince me that that is a red card challenge. My initial reaction was, that's not a red.
Fair.
But you can absolutely convince me that it was completely careless, endangered the safety of the opponent, and
that's how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Now you see players sprinting to the corner.
Oh yeah, Mohamed Farsi was going to run for Dato Valenzuela, and the player stopped him.
Yeah, he's saved by his teammates from something that could get really ugly, and it is continuing down into the tunnel.
Yeah, it did, by the way.
It did.
If you follow on the Twitters, WBNS TV in Columbus, Ohio, Adam King, he's their sports director, at Adam King 10 TV, 10 TV. He was in the underpinnings of the building and caught about a good 45 seconds of a lot of jaw jacking back and forth. First and foremost, for me, Dato Valenzuela, that was a red. I mean, that's just in looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was you're going after Taha Habrun, and that was dead red to me. That's what that was to start things off.
Yeah, I think that is an easy red card, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. One, it's not like this had been a nice, friendly affair before this, right? As I mentioned, this is a rivalry match. There were some heated moments, especially looking at, Cincinnati, who have always shown grace in these situations as we have come to know them.
Especially,
and I think there are some legitimate frustrations, from how they played. Obviously, Cincinnati's winning because of a penalty kick, a very valid penalty kick. But I get it. You go through the whole second half, you don't find the equalizer. You're frustrated. In this moment, though, as a referee, you have to kind of also think, all right. I mean, this was given at 90 plus a couple.
Yeah.
That is a very great time to give a red card, if I'm going to be real honest, because it has no real effect on the match. And when you're going to do something as stupid as trying to take both legs out from a player, you can get a red card, and you get to deal with Disco and whatever envelope they send you this coming week. So I think Chapman, I do think he was going to give a red card initially. I think he was going to his back pocket, which is typically where referees keep their red card. Not me, most of them. I don't know for sure, but he does get a straight up red card for something, be it the kick out or then an ensuing word or 5 that he may have used.
Yeah,
but that's crazy.
I believe there was having something to do with horse hockey that was attached.
Something
as a part of his outburst, and the initial incredulity from Dato Valenzuela is like, what? And I'm like, nah, fam, that dialed you up. That was easy for me.
The players who very clearly and obviously do a bad thing, who then claim innocence. Well, he must have learned from Matt Miazga. That's all I'll say.
I mean, I don't know what kind of pizza Dato Valenzuela likes, but maybe you can get that figured out too. And then it goes into the tunnel, and it was
Let's first start, John.
Sure.
In the moment that happens, basically right after the match ends.
Okay,
I think.
So a Mo Farsi moment, or are you?
Yeah, because this is a nightmare scenario for a referee, because obviously he's over in the corner, like the opposite corner, dealing with that, trying to just get the game finished at that point. And then you see a player sprinting toward another player off ball. That's real scary. Yes, his teammate saved him. I don't think anything will be triggered for Disco, but it wouldn't be surprised if he gets something also in the form of a fine, just as not necessarily a mass confrontation moment, because there will be some others who I think will get involved with that. But I could see him being included if they really want to be mean, because you can't judge intent, but you can look at that and be pretty aware of what his intent was going to be. That was a scary moment watching as a referee going, oh crap.
I had to go to the bathroom. I had to go 10-100 and it couldn't wait.
It was that, as a referee, that's a terrible moment to see. Luckily, it was on the same side as both the fourth official and another assistant, but you just don't want to see that. Ooh, it's got a big old flash of lightning outside.
Yes, that is true. I will stipulate to those as well. We are having. Wow. Man,
good morning, Atlanta.
Yeah, no kidding. Happy Monday. Then there were another couple of moments that I did want to get into, but yes, I am anticipating inside the VAR studio probably spending a boatload of time on that incident, that sequence alone, starting with Valenzuela and going up the tunnel. Might be its own episode.
Well, yeah, it will be interesting, and this is just a good learning moment for referees everywhere to kind of understand match management, man management, and managing yourself, because it's really easy to kind of get in your own right worked up over these things and too heated in these exchanges, because naturally as a human you're going, holy crap, and you're like, we need to stop this.
Okay, so then you and we talked to Kevin Hewitt about this, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it as well. When it comes to managing your emotions, how difficult is this to be almost, and I don't want to use the word robotic, but analytical when it comes to activity going on in front of you, so you don't become overly emotional and are trying to navigate what's going on and do it in a way that is befitting of an on-field official?
Well, it is hard because of two things. One, especially at 90 plus whatever we're at, you're tired, you've been running a lot, your blood pressure is already raised, right? Literally. So, you have that. But then you have, again, a very human reaction to a spike in whatever, hormone or chemical goes in your body during these moments, cortisol or something. I don't know.
Sounds good.
But because you see this, and again, as a human, yes, you understand, I need to be calm, but you also want to quickly, not even de-escalate. We're past de-escalation. Diffuse the situation. And so you want to act quickly, you want to act decisively, and you oftentimes have to get a little of a raised voice, of a little bit of a heated tone, because people need to know you're serious. And so that can tip things over the edge even more. Or it can, depending on the players, it can kind of snap them out of it and go, oh, my bad. Like if you use a dad voice, like I think some people do, or mine is my lifeguard voice, where, it's very much a, hey, you stop that right now, which I've done a couple times in these situations. It does kind of recorrect the situation. But oftentimes these guys are just kind of out of it. And so you have kind of two approaches. And I think in the moment you want to try to stop it before it gets any bigger. But once that first couple seconds of not being able to really manage the situation, because these are adult males who are going to listen if they choose to, you then have to remove yourself and just be an observer, which we've talked about a lot of. You got to be watching to make sure yep, that dude's getting a red card, that dude's getting a yellow card, that dude's getting a talking to, and figuring out who needs to get which appropriate disciplinary action.
Tyler Tarrant's set to join us in about 20 minutes. Then let me ask you this. The Bertarame incident in Messi and Friends and CF Montreal. A lot of folks who were looking at it were wondering why there wasn't a card on Efra in this moment. It was contact, and Bertarame. I think Bertarame was probably out on the way down, and it was a situation that just really got everybody locked in on the health of Bertarame, who's in the hospital last time we had any report. And he's responsive and he's okay, undergoing observation, but a scary moment involving Inter Miami and CF Montreal.
I think we have another moment that we might be talking about involving Kevin Sullivan, where there's a pretty...
the Stuart Hawkins, Kevin Sullivan moment too, yes.
They're not exactly the same, but I think the problem often comes to how much do you police players playing hard? Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
because sometimes, not even sometimes, look, you step out of the field, you are taking a risk. And not that you should be put into a dangerous situation like this. I mean, obviously this is a little beyond just a risky situation, but unfortunately sometimes you get the worst end of a really aggressive tackle or aggressive challenge in this situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that the other player did anything wrong. But as a referee, you have to kind of be mindful of the player safety impact of a lot of these challenges. And so something that I try to talk to about with my other referees, and then guys who I'm working with or coaching up, is there is an element of control that you have to play with. I use basketball as an example a lot of times in my instructions because there are a lot of similarities, but there's a player control foul in basketball, right? Like an offensive foul is often, the player control foul.
Right.
And you do have a responsibility to take care of your opponent. Like literally our first level of foul is a careless foul, right? So when you're not acting with care, and when you're coming into a challenge with, it's, to be fair, reckless abandon. I think that's kind of where it's okay to say, like, it's not a bad thing that Efra goes in hard, but there's a level of like, you have to be aware that this is putting someone else possibly in danger.
Yeah. But you don't want to alter your playing style.
No.
And that's the other part of this. And you don't want to be someone other than whom you have developed as a professional athlete. Yeah. And that's also a part of this whole thing too.
And so, look, is he overly aggressive? Sure.
But that's Efra.
But I look at the challenge and I just go, okay, well, yeah, he's going for the ball. Is he being possibly over aggressive, going in hard for a challenge? Sure. But it's also not like he ran 20 feet, jumped in the air, flew 20 feet more, and then, took him out. It's a pretty normal-ish, challenge for a ball in the box.
Yeah.
He unfortunately, the attacker is the one who comes up worse, and this happens in this sport. Again, as the referee, you have to manage the player impact part of these things. And when someone goes down injured like this, there is an automatic cry. Not that there's not always an automatic cry from Miami when anything happens, but there's going to be an automatic cry from the attacking team or the opponent or the hurt player's team for some sort of immediate justice. And you also have to manage that because, again, this is a harsh challenge. I think that's fair to say. He goes up tall and strong and takes a guy out.
Yeah.
He does get the ball, or he does go for the ball, I should say. It's not like he's intentionally trying to hurt a player. And you have to manage both sides of that because one team is really upset, but the other player who'd committed the foul or, maybe not even foul in this case, but, commits the infraction or whatever. You also have to talk to them and make sure that their understanding of like, hey man, like that maybe crossed a line. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
So this is one of those tightrope situations where it feels really bad, but that doesn't mean it is bad, but it doesn't mean that it's not something you have to address, because if you don't, then you're looking like you don't care about player health and safety.
Right. Then the Seattle Philly moment with Hawkins and Kevin Sullivan. What's stuck in your mind there?
Well, I think what stuck is Kevin Sullivan's ready to fight, and I think I appreciate that. Someone needs to be able to fight. Lord knows we didn't have any fight from Christian Pulisic this summer, so that would be good to have. I think that was a little bit more of an escalated, like, hey, bro, what were you doing here? I was a little shocked this wasn't a yellow card. I'll be real honest. I know Hawkins does win the ball, but as I've said, I don't even know how many times to other people, just because you win the ball, it doesn't mean it's not a foul.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes into that like reckless, I think, category of play. I mean, he was coming through and he didn't care who was in front of him. He was winning that ball, which is not a bad characteristic of a defender. Let's be real honest here. Like, that's fine. You just also have to understand as a defender that when you go in hard to a challenge like that, you might get punished. And it looks bad for sure. I think it looks bad more because, again, different to Ephra, there was momentum and build up and an approach to this challenge that to me felt reckless, to just be blunt. This does not feel like, oh, well, two guys went up for a header and one got the worst in.
Okay.
This felt like a guy kind of running through a challenge that maybe shouldn't have been acting with such abandon.
Okay. I'm trying to see if I've missed anything else. Did I miss anything else? I'm glad you brought up Hawkins and Sullivan because I did have that on the list.
I wish I should have tried to jump in on Friday because I think we had a lot to talk about with our midweek match involving a certain referee.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This is where I think he was very inconsistent and had a very off night.
Inconsistent
in the Atlanta Charlotte match. I think that's fair to say, right?
That's inconsistent. I appreciate your wording there.
I think we all rightfully have questions about Charlotte's first goal. I have questions about how we got to a Will Riley yellow card. I have a theory, so I do want to share my theory, John.
Okay.
And I haven't read anything about this, but it is possible that Serhii Boyko noticed the foul and was planning to give a yellow card for a reckless foul. This definitely goes above the threshold of stopping a promising attack. So we've talked about this in the terms of a penalty kick before with double jeopardy. If you commit a foul, a legitimate play on the ball, in the penalty area, that happens to still deny an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Because we are awarding a penalty kick, we do not then also want to award a red card for something and put a team in double jeopardy.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Why?
Oh, sorry. I got a notification of something went wrong, but I guess it was the chat, not me.
Yeah.
So we also apply double jeopardy to stopping a promising attack yellow cards, in the sense that if you're making a legitimate play on the ball in an attempt to stop a promising attack, or in the act of stopping a promising attack, but we play advantage, we're not really supposed to go back and give a yellow card for stopping a promising attack.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, but I would also posit
this was not stopping a promising attack. This was a reckless foul for sure. And clearly borderline red card. So my theory is he noticed the foul, said, had in his mind that should be a yellow card foul. But VAR also wanted to take a look. You know, I don't know what the communication was between the referee, the AR, the fourth, and the VAR. Like that may have been something they talked about. Who knows? But clearly the VAR thought that it needed another look. I don't think they were saying, hey, this is a foul. We need to look at it because you completely missed it. I think it was, hey, is this foul that you're probably going to give a yellow card for a red card? Okay. So I think the yellow card was going to come out for Will Riley on this play. The review was to make sure that it was just a yellow card. That is my theory.
Okay, so then I would posit to this in the 5-paragraph essay that VAR did not go back into the play far enough, because Ashley Westwood decided that he wanted to crane kick an AME high inside the 18.
Yeah. I think that is something that VAR maybe should have looked at.
They missed it. They missed it.
I do want to say that it depends on the type of infraction here, because if it's maybe this is a theory. Okay. Sure. I'm trying to give theories.
Sure.
I don't know why our not very good soccer team can't even get a benefit of a call every now and then that would make us not as terrible as we are.
I would go back to a conversation that was had very early in the team's tenure that was on local sports talk radio, but that's just me.
You should. But if they did look at this or whatever and deemed it only an indirect free kick infraction for playing in a dangerous manner, maybe they don't view that as clear and obvious error to call back a goal.
What about a high boot?
That's not a real thing.
Okay.
So a high boot, a high kick, whatever, that's not in itself an infraction in the laws of the game. That is under the playing in a dangerous manner.
Okay.
Now, if there's contact made, now we're getting into a kicking foul.
Okay, so yeah.
And so there's your line of demarcation is contact equals indirect direct free kick foul, meaning we've got kicking essentially is what you're getting into is kicking.
Yeah.
Indirect free kicks are playing in a dangerous manner, usually involve just putting someone in a dangerous position. We talk about this when we're talking about like playing on the ground, which may or may not involve contact, but usually that just means like, hey, you're on the ground playing with the ball, putting yourself in danger, putting your foot above a certain spot of elevation. Usually it's above the waist, but it could be other places. Putting it up by someone else's head.
Yeah.
Definitely in a dangerous position, right?
Ashley Westwood's right foot was attracted to Naomi High's right temple.
Yeah. Then that's still just an indirect free kick.
Inside, even
playing in a dangerous manner.
Even inside the team. Yeah.
Yes, even inside the penalty area. It is still playing in a dangerous manner. That's all it is. It's an indirect free kick.
Got it.
If there is contact, then we're talking about a kicking foul. And that is a direct free kick foul, which inside the penalty area means you get a penalty kick. So I don't know what they were looking at, John. Again, I'm not entirely sure why they decided to not roll the tape from the start. I'm trying to think, because it's been 2 matches, I'm trying to not think about Atlanta United as much as possible. But if it was not the moment that caused the that sparked the attacking phase of play.
And I would posit
Then we don't go back that far, right? We're not Argentina and Messi. We don't get to just roll the tape back 90 minutes to decide if there's a foul. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was a foul in that.
But I
case,
would,
too.
yeah.
I
But
think we talked about that.
But I would.
But if it's not the moment, it's not the moment that changes possession and starts the attacking phase of play,
and I would
it's
say
not.
I would say
part of the reviewable process.
I would say that it was, because Mihai and this is for folks to go back. This is their homework. This is where they go back and watch for themselves. My look, and I'm gonna have to go back now and watch the play. But Callum and Kalen were on the call. Contact was made by Westwood on Mihai as he was going after the ball. Ball goes to Vargas, and then Vargas starts the transition back the other way.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that VAR may not have felt that was the attacking phase.
Right. And so, like I said, I think it was a miss by VAR, which would have then wiped off then everything. Yeah. If that foul had been called on Westwood on Mihai inside the 18, that would have wiped everything else off the board. No Will Riley discussion, no goal, no nothing. So that's kind of my big thing. But there were a lot of misses, and the other thing that just angles, because like I said, we've had discussions with you about monitoring. We've had Kevin Huet on to talk about angles and making sure that you have your line of sight and everything, and not getting in the way. 5 instances that Sergi Boyko was in the way because he took a poor angle that included a defensive attempt by Cooper Sanchez of trying to win the ball away from a Charlotte player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bad positioning. That's just what it comes down to. It's just bad positioning. I don't know exactly what the review and the coaching processes are for the referees in pro and refereeing MLS games, but I think we've seen Sergi Boyko for a while in MLS.
Yes, we have.
I would wonder how long that while is going to last. Let's just put it that way. And nothing against him, but maybe a little bit. But eventually things slow down. And that will then affect the rest of your positioning if you're not used to it.
Yep.
So
let's see. U20s are now underway, and
we didn't even get to talk about them.
No, it's a 3-0 win over Haiti in match number 1.
Should have been more. I think that's fair to say. Probably should have found the back of the net once or twice more.
Okay. And one other thing before, it looks like, according to our friend Dale Johnson, English football is set to implement a trial to try to eradicate keeper tactical timeouts this season. FA, Prem, EFL, National League, Women's Super League have agreed on the measure pending permission from IFAB. IFAB decided against changing the law and inviting leagues to volunteer for trials. Pro Ref, the old PGMOL, has been in discussions with leagues to determine how to tackle the issue, settled on a team having to remove an outfield player from the field. If a ref signals that the physio can come on to treat a keeper, coach will have 10 seconds to nominate another player to leave the pitch for 1 minute, telling the fourth of their choice. If no player has been selected within 10 seconds, the captain must leave the field. If clearance is received by IFAB in time, first game to feature the trial is Carabao Cup prelim round tie Tranmere Rochdale on August 1. A-League apparently is going to try a variation with the captain always having to leave the field.
I don't like it, but I'm willing to watch it, but I don't like that.
Okay. So what's going on at SoccerForUSPod?
Well, we recorded at the end of last week. I'm going to hopefully edit that today. It was a long episode. We went an hour and 30 minutes because, John, we were talking about World Cup and then talked about, the cultural impact of the World Cup, which you're going to get a lot of discussion, especially from 3 guys who have been part of the sport for most of their lives and are heavily invested and want the sport to grow. So, it was long, I think, for a good reason, because these conversations at this point post-World Cup are not yes or no answers.
Right.
And so we do get into it. Not USMNT specific, very US soccer and American soccer culture specific, which again gets into even bigger questions. And we don't even talk about pro rel or pay to play. Shocking.
Hey,
so
there's a lot of stuff.
We have some fun though.
Good. the Soccer for US POD episode 150 coming out very soon. And
Hopefully today or tomorrow.
there you go. So as always, my friend, great to see you. Great to catch up. And we'll continue talking as we go. And I know you'll crash when you got something to talk about.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There are things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. There goes Bart. First time, long time. This is fun. I'm glad that we were able to reconnect, because my first question is going to be about miles and points and about the World Cup experience and all of that kind of stuff. It's our friend Tyler Terrence. Long time no talk. How are you, my friend?
I'm living the dream here in beautiful Cincinnati, pal. How you doing?
Well, let's see. Did you survived Hell is Real on the weekend?
Yeah, well, oddly enough, I was actually in Nashville calling Liverpool and Sunderland preseason friendly. And was listening to Hell is Real on the drive back. So got to just listen to Jake and Taylor describe it to me audibly, the Dado Valenzuela, Mo Farsi tough guy contest. You want to meet back? You want to meet in the back and actually like never get in a fight, because obviously that was never going to happen? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But
yeah, the extended pointing of index fingers at arm's length and all that kind of stuff. Hey, you. Yeah, what about it, you? Hey, we'll go out back. Well, we're already in the tunnel. What about out back? Well, we're already up. One of those kind of things.
Just nonsense, absolute nonsense. And for what it's worth, I thought Cincinnati were just putrid in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, like even though they beat them last year in the postseason, like I think that Columbus most certainly have the hand up in that rivalry. Cincinnati got their moment in the U.S. Open Cup when they were in USL, but I think Columbus, for whatever reason, right now over the past however many years, I think the Eastern Conference Final broke Cincinnati in 2023 as far as that rivalry is concerned. So.
Yeah, I'm down with OPP. You know me. I'm right there with you. Look at you busting out the Hobart gear this morning. Look at you,
my people, mi gente. Oh yeah,
man. All right, so. Last time you and I had conversations, it was before a big ticket item, and you were incredibly fortunate to be able to be a part of Big FOX and their calling of this cup that the world was chasing after. Break down that experience for me. What was that like?
Just like a whirlwind, exhausting, the best feeling in the world. Just like emotionally, physically draining. I was gone for 2 weeks. My wife is close to 9 months pregnant now.
Oh!
So that was fun to sort of leave her incredibly pregnant for 2 weeks. She was amazing, and she held down the fort and had some help from family and friends. But just from like a pure commentator standpoint and being able to like say that I worked that specific World Cup, I think I said in a post recently, I was just like, or I wrote a blurb for something, and I was like, I hope that this isn't a once in a lifetime experience, but that one in particular will be something that I treasure forever. As my first World Cup, being in the US, Canada, and Mexico, I got to do games in all three countries. I like still, even now, a month removed from it, at least in terms of my role, like still struggling to find the words and so many stories coming out of it as well.
Yeah. All right. So then hit me with some of your stories. If you were to write your telenovela about the whole thing, what sticks in your head from what you were able to see?
All right. So it was the Japan-Tunisia game, 1,000th game in World Cup history.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it worked for us was we went down to the field to go do our hit first. When we walked into the stadium, we pre-recorded that around 75 minutes pre-kickoff. And then I think it aired anywhere between 40 to 30 minutes before kickoff in the middle of the pregame show. So we go to do our hit. We're walking back up, and we don't go to the commentary position beforehand. That's the first time that we're seeing it. So we get up there, and there are no fewer than 7 different Japanese outlets, whether it be TV or radio, covering the game. One of the main Japanese television outlets has happened. They sit right next to us, and Monterey was, an open air media tribune, right? So there's no little booth that I have like we had in Seattle or Vancouver. And I sit down at the commentary position, and mind you, we're 45 minutes to kick from this point in time after we record our hit. And I sit down, and they have like a camera, but a massive camera that looks more like a satellite than anything. And I sit down, and it's blocking half of my vantage point of the field. The entire left-hand side of the field is blocked. And our tech guy, I looked at him, and he was like, this was like our second or third game in Monterey at this point in time. And we looked at each other, and I was like, dude, I was like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I've been battling with him for the past 3 hours. Like it ain't moving.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So then we get to kick off and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm standing up for the whole game. Right? Standing up.
Yeah.
I usually stand up anyway, but because it's a media tribune and like I had already done a couple of games, I was like, I'll sit. I want to be respectful of people behind me. So we start the broadcast. I'm standing up. And then as the final whistle is starting, and if you go back and listen to the highlights, you can hear it. I stutter and I don't say turn off the world and turn on the game because Japanese radio behind me is poking me on the shoulder as the opening whistle goes. And it's none other than, and we learned this after the fact, Yuya Kubo, formerly who's poking me on the shoulder, being like, "Bro, sit down." And I'm in the middle of opening the game, pointing to his TV comrades, being like, "No, dude, I'm not sitting down because I can't see half the field." So then what I end up doing is I basically end up like taking 3 steps back because there was a wall right behind us where they were elevated above, and I'm calling the game 5 feet away from my actual desk, holding my boards like I'm calling an MLS preseason game. And that's how I called the entirety of the game. And like guys from HBS are pointing at me being like, this guy, he's the one who's standing. And like, I look at my stats guy and I was just like, you need to go handle this. Like I mouthed it to him. I was like, we're in the middle of a game. Japan scored 13 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably my favorite story of the whole tournament.
We were fortunate enough to cover all 8 matches here in town. And to see Cabo Verde draw Spain out of the blocks, for Vizinha to have his moment. He's now heading to Colo-Colo for a 6-month that could add another year to it. To see DR Congo and what they were able to do. To see Argentina, the comeback kids, come back twice. It's just insane. You know, the Egypt game and the England game.
Yeah.
To see those and to see all of these different countries come in, Morocco and Haiti in a dead rubber, and the place was jammed at 68,000 plus, and it was loud. And you know how it is with that roof up high, everything just bounces and comes down on top of you.
Yeah.
The loudest stuff, to be able to see all of these different fan bases come in and rep all of their different countries and share their experiences with everyone else. It was one of those special things that you do not forget under any circumstance.
Watching that Egypt game at home, especially since we did the Egypt-Iran game, and like we saw them and they had already known that they were going to be in the knockout rounds like when they entered that game. But I was like, this Egypt team looks so good for the first 75 minutes of that game. Seeing South Africa beat South Korea in the fashion that they did. Because I remember being in the hotel that morning and there was a South African gentleman who clearly was repping all of his Bafana gear. And I was like, you guys got a shot tonight, pal? And he goes, they are fucking useless. And I was like, brother,
wow.
Like, all you need is a W tonight. I was like, and you got Sitole back. And he goes, don't you mean Shitole? And I was like, my man. Sorry, family show.
No, you just gave us the E on a Monday. It's all right.
So it was just incredible knowing what had happened in Mexico City and how the entire tournament was like, that group qualified for the World Cup. Like, is this really what we're about to endure for all of these teams, for, the extra 16 teams that qualified this year, and to see them win and do it in the way that they do it? Like, that was, I think, my favorite sporting moment, was seeing that win. And then Japanese support is incredible. The atmosphere at the Colombia DR Congo game, like, oh my, if I go deaf by the age of 40, it's going to be because of that game. The decibel levels were off the charts.
Yeah. Literally in Mercedes-Benz, Atlanta Stadium.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. Really? Well, I mean, hell.
Like I had multiple people slide into my DMs in the middle of the Seattle game, calling me an asshole and like real vitriol for calling it Seattle Stadium. And I was like, do you understand that I like work for a company and like I have to like do things in order to like retain? Why are you getting so upset with me for not calling it Lumen Field? Like what's the matter with you? Like and of all the things that you're upset about of the 6 games that I called, that's the one that you're going to point to where I'm literally contractually obligated to call it by the proper name. People are just fascinating.
Well, and I mean, for me, leaving and coming back into and discussing league play, don't think for a second that I'm not going to use that as a work at some moment
Yeah.
and sit there and go, well, yeah, hey, over at Atlanta State, hey, at Seattle Stadium, hey, at New York, New Jersey Stadium. Now, of course, I'm going to use those as a reference point, but it's kind of a reverse tongue-in-cheek kind of a deal because of what it was for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I slipped. I was in flow state, and we were just referencing the tournament. And I said something about the final, and then I and I'm from Jersey and a Jets fan, so
I'm sorry.
Whatever. I listen, Knicks in 5, baby. I don't need anything else for the rest of my life.
Yes, I figured.
And I was just and I said MetLife, and I didn't even get to life. I said New Jersey, New York Stadium. And our stat guy is a huge Knicks fan and also from New York. And he just looked at me and laughed. And he was like, honestly, it felt like you were doing a bit because of how quickly you caught it. Yeah. And I thought I was going to get a text from somebody over at Fox. Nobody cares. You can't repeatedly call it by its name. But especially for those of us who work in sports or attend games there or call games there, it's so easy to slip up and say that. But I don't know. Anyway, we're digressing off to something that's not.
And this shocks you because? So the field of 48. What was your?
Give me 17 of them.
Well, I mean, what your initial thought going in 48? You were cool with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I always thought that there were teams who deserved to be in the World Cup that should have been there and teams who didn't. And so I thought that adding 16 more was going to be a good thing. I didn't think it was going to be as good as we saw. I didn't think DR Congo, Cape Verde, and those types of stories that we were going to get. I mean, it ended up being teams that were that outwardly qualified without an intercontinental playoff or anything like that. That ended up being the most disappointing. Qatar qualifies, ends up being really disappointing. Tunisia doesn't concede a single goal during their entire qualification campaign, and they were dreadful. And I'm just the smoke and mirror actually ended up being the way that the qualification method shook out in their respective regions rather than the teams who actually qualified, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because Tunisia's group was such a cakewalk in order to get to the World Cup, and they just didn't play anybody for months on end in a competitive environment. And then they got their socks blown off, and then
Hervé Renard, who was he comes in after match day 1. He's there for 18 days, and he's like, "Nah, fam, I'm out. I'm not staying."
Absolutely not. Why would you? I mean, that team was Moadou was genuinely upset. It bothered him to his core. Felt like you would think that this man had Tunisian bloodlines, how upset he was after the second Tunisia game we called. He was very, very upset with the effort from the Eagles of Carthage, which was bizarre to me.
Yeah, well, and Hervé Renard down to the third button with the gold chain. That's how he's always been wired, no matter where he's been.
Yeah,
whether it's been Saudi or whatever. But then let me ask you this. What about a field of 64, which we know is coming?
No.
It's coming.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I know it is, but let's do something. Let's go outside of the offices in Zurich with pitchforks and the angry mob mentality and just let's try to just not have it happen like we did with the Super League. 64 teams is obscene. It's obscene.
Well,
we just had this great thing.
Yeah.
And this is just you would think Gianni Infantino was raised on Wall Street, the level of greed and I just can't wrap my head around the fact that there were two main talking points heading into this World Cup when it came to things that people were skeptical about. Mm-hmm. Ticket prices and the expanded field. Those were the two biggest hot button topics that could have gone either way. DR Congo could have been shit. Cape Verde could have been awful. Uzbekistan could have not put up the fight that they did in their opening game. There could have been a million different things that basically said 48 teams was an absolute disaster. Ticket prices could have really deterred people from coming out. And it didn't. Stadiums were packed almost every single game. Mm-hmm. And you just knocked it out of the park. Why would you now go take another big hack after you have a winning formula?
Because you're at the end of TV contracts, and it's a negotiating point for both English and Spanish broadcasts to expand it, and it's also equally divisible when it comes to just having your first and your second teams come out of group stage, as opposed to all of the math that we had to try to figure out the field of 48.
Was that really that big of a deal? I feel like the third place standings, once the second match day was complete, it was pretty easy to see like what was going to get you there and what wasn't for the most part, right? Like I think that there was moments where you were just like, is that going to be good enough? Is that not going to be good enough? And South Korea started off those third place standings in like third, and then they just dropped down in the days after that.
And
but
it's booed coming into the airport.
Sure. But the TV rights thing I totally get, but this is why I referenced the greed, because it's like anybody coming out of that World Cup, and I know the time differences are going to be different specifically for the US market now, but anybody coming out of that World Cup, meaning a network, why would you not pay top dollar for that? Like it's so blatantly a moneymaker, especially now with the hydration breaks. I mean, Fox makes over $250 million from hydration breaks alone. That number is only going to skyrocket by the time that we get there. I don't see the value in doing it other than closing the gap on the ticket sales that you were able to garner in the United States, that you won't be able to do so with Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. And that from a number standpoint, I can see that there's a gap that they need to close, but I don't know if a 64 team field, the juice is worth the squeeze there. I feel like that's cutting off your nose to spite your face a little bit.
I just don't want them to get to 64 and then do a Tuesday in Dayton. I don't want that.
I just did a Sunday night in Dayton with my in-laws. That was nice.
Look, but you didn't have a field of 64 plus 4 to fill in those spots to take on the number one ranked seeds from Hara Arena.
Tuesday in Dayton, the Intercontinental Playoff. Wasn't DR Congo and Jamaica? Wasn't that the Tuesday? I mean, that was a Tuesday in Guadalajara.
It was, yes.
So
yeah, and so you end up that. But I don't want a Tuesday in Dayton, Ohio, and a Wednesday to figure out. Okay, so you're going to go see the number one seed here instead of go into that group. But
I get it.
All right, so how much shopping did you do?
You know something? Not a ton. I bought all of the posters before the tournament, all of the days that I was calling games in, and the main poster.
Okay.
Bought a hat for my wife. I bought a hat for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought her a hoodie from Seattle, because all of the stuff that they had in the, in the FIFA fan shops was stuff that you could get online. And from like a scarf standpoint or any of that, I was like, I have the posters. I was like, I don't know, for whatever. I'm usually a big swag guy, but I just didn't end up doing as much as I thought. What do we got here? Argentina,
England, baby.
Oh, you got the half and half scarf.
Yeah, I got the match day.
I got yelled at a Premier League game for getting a half and half scarf as a Yank, and I had a bunch of Scousers who just let me have it verbally because I got that, and I was like, I feel like a World Cup you're able to do that. DR Congo, and don't tell me Uzbekistan.
Yeah, Uzbekistan.
There you go.
Well, because, and that was the thing for me, is that you had a match, and everybody's like, well, what? Atlanta got DR Congo and Uzbekistan. And it's like, why would you want to go see that? And I'm like, oh, no, you do not understand. That is a match on the last day of the group stage, and it means everything to somebody. Somebody's got to win to get in. No, it was chaos, and it was fantastic chaos.
Awesome game.
And so those kinds of things, you got to, Haiti. And who's on the flip side? Haiti, Morocco, of course. I'm still trying to figure out how Haiti's fans got the full bongos, the extra large bongos and the hi-hats and all of the stuff that they brought into the stadium. That was some pretty sweet stuff.
I feel like you go into a special entrance, or you get like a note from mom that you're able to do it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Was this Cabo Verde in Spain? No, or was this just Cabo Verde?
When would you get those within the stadium, though?
Yeah, I got them. I got them inside the stadium because it was match day, and I didn't want to risk not being able to get them. So no, I completely enjoyed it.
That's my one regret, is that I didn't get these half and half scarves. But like, I also have this mentality, and I know it might sound a little snobbish considering I'm a commentator. I'm like, I called the games. I have the highlights on YouTube as sort of like my that's my souvenir. I was like, spend more money.
Yeah, and here's one before the tournament. Argentina, Iceland from Jordan-Hare, where you had 82,000 people at Jordan-Hare Stadium watching that one. So no, my Amex was smoking by the end of the tournament.
Well, this is also the same guy who, when the Marta Atlanta United collab came out, that you probably spent
Guilty.
a small fortune on that as well. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that the damage was done.
Guilty is charged. Yeah, and that stuff is on order. And yes, so yes, the Marta Atlanta collab, I have pieces and others are being shipped to me. So
Do you find yourself in a deep state of depression, not only because the World Cup is over, but because Atlanta United are the worst team in MLS?
no, I view it journalistically, and it's disappointing that we don't have a World Cup anymore. But I'm being as level-headed as possible when it comes to presenting. Look, this is LA law, brother. It's facts and evidence, and I let those who come in say their piece and try and discuss the other points of view here. We do not believe in raised voices. We believe in facts and perspective. And the Twitch pitch has great conversations, and they have the raised voices for the collective. So that's kind of how we do things.
How often do you say that to yourself in front of the mirror every morning in order to make
every blanking day?
Every day.
Every day. I mean, look, this is season 10. You've been with us since the beginning. This is season 10 for us. And, if you can't navigate the difficult times, then, it's you probably don't know how to navigate.
Sports are cyclical, man. They're cyclical. They're cyclical. This funny thing that we love sports. Everybody's going to suck at some point. I
mean, Atlanta and Philly are at the bottom of the standings in the East.
Philly have won a couple of games, though.
And I know, and I think Bradley Carnell, the way that I've phrased Bradley Carnell is that he's the pitcher that you call up from AAA on an emergency start, and he comes in and you don't have a book on him, and he'll go 5 2/3. He'll give up a run that's earned, and he'll leave runners on base, and he'll stay for that stint while the starter that he's replaced is on the DL, and they don't have a book on him, and so he's successful. And then all of a sudden, okay, so he's got an ERA of 3.2 in his starts while our number one starter was away, so we'll keep him up. Second time through the league, you get book on it, and you know how he's going to be. So Carnell in St. Louis, Carnell in Philly, year one, because you don't have book on him because of the people that are there, he's going to navigate and do what he does. Then he gets found out in a playoff setting because you play him more than once back to back. You've got tape on him, and then game 2 and game 3, you can take advantage of what you've seen on tape because he doesn't change with his personnel that's there. And once again, through Philly, that first season, okay, cool. Same thing that happened in St. Louis. Second time through the league caught up with him. And it was just that awful start that he had in St. Louis that got him dismissed. Same thing in Philly. So I think that unless things change with Bradley Carnell, I think that's what you're going to get. You're going to get someone who can get you to a certain level in year one, losing a playoff because it's more than one match. Then year 2, that's when he's got to change. And if he doesn't, then he gets caught up.
I agree 50 to 60% of that.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
St. Louis, I thought he got a raw deal. I think that injuries, Etta Leuven's wife being diagnosed at the time, God rest her soul.
Yes.
And I think that it was just a bad collection of a number of different things, emotionally, on the field, injury-wise. And I remember one of the last games that Lutz Pfannenstiel came out onto the field after they got beat by Dallas, and Kindred and I looked at each other like, this ain't good. I was like, that's not.
But then how much of this is Pfannenstiel and his?
Well, I think that St. Louis, that was all his fault. I think that some of the moves that they made and the way that they were treating players, particularly like somebody like Tim Parker, and like hearing some of the stories from behind the scenes in terms of like what was being offered to players who had really succeeded in 2023. And anyway, Philly. I mean, I did them at the beginning of the year in CONCACAF Champions Cup. Kevin Sullivan was the best player on the field against Club America in the second leg. Pulled him off in the 60th minute. And I was like, how do you explain that? How do you explain that? It's March. He's the next big thing, and he's the best player on the field. What are you resting him for? Kid's 16.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there were a number of decisions that he made, including starting like another young college super draft pick in that game. And I get that there's rotation that needs to be had and everything like that. So what I'm saying is St. Louis, I felt like it was a raw deal, and like 90% of it wasn't his fault, and I could put on Lutz Pfannenstiel and then also the external circumstances. Philly, I think your point is more valid in terms of like they've got book on him and they're able to sort of like pick it apart, on top of the fact that I think that he was just making bad decisions. I mean, like Richter comes in and Pierre starts, Kevin Sullivan starts, and they've won 2 games in a row. Now, granted, I'm not losing my mind over that because it's 2 games against, one against Seattle, which is a good win, and then the other one, I believe it was against Montreal. So I just, the Bradley Carnell thing is so interesting because I do think he's a good coach, and I do think he has a lot to bring to the table in this league because he's so good at operating in a tight budget, and that's why Philly liked him.
Yeah.
But I think that he made coaching mistakes. Like, I think he deserved to get fired from Philly. I didn't think he deserved to get fired from St. Louis.
Yeah, like I said, I thought that was more Pfannenstiel than it was Carnell. How was Liverpool at Giotis?
Oh, my God. So much fun. So much fun. I mean, I'm a huge Liverpool fan, so being able to do that was very much bucket list for me in general. But like seeing the crowd and like You'll Never Walk Alone as they're walking out, like being able to say Dominic Szoboszlai's name, like it was too much. Like to be able to call Liverpool and a World Cup in a month, and I'm just like, do I stop now? This feels like a good time to just hang them up and get into finance and actually go like spend some time with my family and make some money. But so overrated, right?
Yeah. So when is the boss scheduled to be due?
August 9th, so any day now.
And since this is numero uno, it's probably going to be a little early. So
it's late if it's early.
I thought early was your first. I thought if it was your first, it was early.
You would know better than me, right?
No, I don't. No, I have parents and pets. I do not have youngins.
Got it.
But are you and the boss? Have you mentally prepared yourself for the third? Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
We don't. It's gonna be a surprise.
Okay. I was gonna say. So, are you mentally prepared to surrender part of your real estate to this individual that is going to be tied to you for the next 75 years?
75. I'm used to people asking me that in the 18-year category. Now that you say 75, no, I'm not.
All right.
Listen, is anybody actually ever ready to become a parent? Like I talk to people about this, especially like friends of mine who just became parents, and they're like, "Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world, but also the most difficult thing." And I'm just like, yeah, it's just one day at a time. One day at a time. That's all.
Yes. So obviously, we send our collective love to you, and may the addition be the addition that sets the Terrans household completely and totally on fire in the figurative sense, not the literal sense. We don't want that. So what are you up to now that World Cup is over and that Liverpool gave you a bucket list item? What are you up to?
I am like mildly unemployed at the moment.
You're a free agent? Yeah.
I'm a free agent, ready to work, open to work. I'm not putting that on LinkedIn, but I'm like just kind of hanging out. And this was by design this year so that, postpartum, I could be home and not be traveling like a maniac.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out, and I think that we're just kind of gonna enjoy being together. She's got 4 months of maternity leave, which is great. She works for a big company like GE, and they take care of their employees, which is beautiful. So yeah, we're just kind of hanging out, and I think like next year is sort of a big year professionally, just waiting to see what rights are going to hold and everything like that. And I've been doing some work with NWSL, which is great. Been doing some linear games for USL, which has been a lot of fun. Been able to like call a couple of AC Boise games, and like the crowd that they draw there, phenomenal.
Our man Nate Miller in his first season up there.
Wow, what an incredible atmosphere that is. And like the story of him becoming the coach there, and Boise kind of called him, and we're just sort of like, hey, would you want to do this a few years down the line? Like we know that you're probably not going to take it now being an assistant at an MLS club. And he was like, no, I'll come over right now and I'll take a look at it. So just kind of hanging out, and I'm really happy about that. There are moments where I'm watching MLS games and I'm just like, I like feel like physically I should be doing something or be somewhere, but I'm right where I need to be, and looking forward to the new edition.
Fantastic. Of course, now that you're in the home studio, you realize, of course, that since you obviously have the keys to the kingdom, you know that you can come in and crash when you want to come in and just talk ish.
I might need that type of reprieve once the little one is here. And if I just need to talk some soccer rather than be talking, baby wipes and diapers.
Well, you can talk baby wipes and diapers on here. That's fine too. I won't have any advanced notice or any expertise, but you can still talk about it.
Yeah. Speaking of Kevin Sullivan, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, he can't drink, can't vote, but he can get into a fight with Stu Hawkins.
So can Dado Valenzuela, but he's like 20-something now at this point. By the way, he's not like a malicious player at all. I just found it very fascinating that he was the one that came through like that and was issuing that sort of beatdown. Like if Ta Nunga did that, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But Dado Valenzuela is like a string pulling, like light-footed number 10, and he's like coming in and just issuing some pain in Columbus.
And I love how Brian Nunga was right up against him, so he couldn't pull the red card out. And it's like when he pulled it out, it kind of falls down, and it's like having him have Anunga back up so he can actually brandish it appropriately.
Yes.
As always, my friend, great to see you. Glad we were able to catch up about your Cup of the World experience. And if you want to come in and crash and you want to talk USL, you want to talk about whatever's on your mind, you have the keys. You know where we are, and it's always that is not me. It's you know who that is. That's probably
take a guess as to who that is.
Oh, it's Devin.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. All right, I'm gonna go take the call. Thanks,
so say hi to Devin. We'll see you soon.
I will. See you, pal.
There he goes. Tyler Terrence is going to talk to Devin. Why am I not surprised that Devin crashed this in some way? Okay, let's get into all of the other news. It's fit to print, and we will take our leave and back at you again on Tuesday. That was a pleasant surprise. I was not aware that I had not booked Tyler, and then it was, hey, I want to come in. Okay, come on in. All right, so here's what we know on the headlines. Looks like Real Madrid's going to sign Yan Diomande in a $153 million deal. Pirlo says he is not going to coach Italy because of ties to betting ties to FonBet. Out of contention over political concerns on a sponsorship deal. Opposition over Pirlo's betting ties has Maldini considering stepping down 16 days into his new gig as technical director, and he's supposed to bring order back to the Azzurri. And this was after Guardiola and Ancelotti had already turned down offers. And so Pirlo confirmed he was out in an Instagram post earlier today saying he, quote, heard last night that I'm no longer candidate for the Italy national team job, end quote. Several Italian politicians had raised concerns about Pirlo's contract to be an ambassador for FonBet, saying the national team coach should not have conflicting views on Italy's support for Ukraine and the war with Russia. So we'll obviously keep an eye on what's going on there, and if Nick has any thoughts on the matter, which I imagine that he would, and that he completely and totally will. By the way, Herman Badarame has been discharged from the hospital after the collision. From Lizzie Bescherano, this happened yesterday afternoon, discharged after he left the match in an ambulance. Statement on Sunday, Berterame is doing well, discharged, returning home after spending the night under observation at Montreal General. Sustained injuries to his left shoulder and nose as a result of the hard blow he suffered during the match. He will begin the corresponding recovery process in the coming days under supervision of the club's medical staff. Progress will determine the timeline for his return to physical activity. So 1-0 over CF Montreal at Stade Saputo. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Transfer rumors, as we have them, trending. Liverpool scheduled talks with PSG over the signing of Bradley Barcola, according to Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Comes as reports claim that France's international winger recently turned down a new deal, entering the final 2 years of his current deal. PSG is now open to an exit. Liverpool looking for a new winger. Barcola viewed as a top target. Premier League champs Arsenal have officially made contact with Newcastle over a potential deal to sign Bruno Guimaraes. Sorry, Alex. That's according to Team Talk. Brazil midfielder has made it clear he wants his future decided the next week before he reports to preseason training. Two clubs believed to be some way apart in their valuation of the 28-year-old at this stage. Manchester City have added PSG winger Ibrahim Mbaye to the club's shortlist. The 18-year-old faces an uncertain future with the league club, according to Foot Mercato. Report claims several teams are tracking him. 4 appearances for Senegal at the World Cup. Man City, Spurs, Villa Dortmund, and RB Leipzig. AS Monaco forward Magnus Akliush has set out PSG as his preferred destination for a transfer switch this summer, according to Foot Mercato. Report comes as Liverpool have shown interest in the 24-year-old as an option to bolster Andoni Iraola's forward line. Reds are seemingly willing to meet a higher valuation. Reported talks are underway between Monaco and PSG over Akliush's future after picking the Parc des Princes as his next destination. Saudi Pro League Al Hilal opened talks to sign Everton's Iliman Ndiaye, according to Fabrizio Romano. He is open to a switch. View of the toffees surrounding an exit will be crucial to the deal moving forward. Al Hilal already have added Crescencio Somerville. That happened over the weekend. Added him from West Ham. Njai now seen as a key target following a season where he was 6+3 in all comps. Mundo Deportivo, Arsenal ready to make Vinicius Jr. the highest paid player at the club as they prepare talks to sign the Real Madrid star who's entered the final year of his deal at the Bernabeu. Nicolas Shearer, United had set a £42 million valuation for Marcus Rashford, links to possible exits. Plettenberg again, Jamal Musiala isn't looking to join Galatasaray after reports claim that the Turkish club interested in the Bayern Munich ace on loan. Plettenberg again, Chelsea remain interested in Alex Scott, with the London club preparing a new offer to sign him, recently rejecting a contract extension with the Cherries. Gazzetta, Juve set to push for a deal for Joshua Zirkzee, Manchester United open to an exit. Mundo Deportivo again, Ajax have pulled out of the race to sign Dani Ceballos, leaving Real Betis as the most likely destination. Midfielder left Real Madrid as a free. Mutual termination of his deal, which ran through 27. Foot Mercato again, Qatari-based Al Rayyan has made an offer to sign Jadon Sancho as the winger has become a free agent following his exit from Manchester United. Sasha Tavolieri, Besiktas have held talks with Rafa Leal's camp over a deal to sign the winger this summer. Portuguese international facing an uncertain future, discussing an exit from AC Milan. Nicolas Shearer, Everton, one of the clubs showing interest in Bologna forward Jonathan Rowe this summer, formerly of Norwich, believed to be available for roughly £45 million. Record Sporting, no intention of lowering their asking price for Ousmane Diomande, who's a target of Forest. And Terra, Benfica have made a €20 million offer to sign Tottenham's Brazilian left-back João Victor Sousa. Now, checking in with our friends on the Twitters to see if there is anything else. I know that Tom Bogert has been somewhat busy this morning in his adventures. There were another couple of names that have been floated out for ideas. It is Atletico Paranaense. We talked about this last week with Will Pelagic from Charlotte. Atletico Paranaense is going to sign Kerwin Vargas from Charlotte. Deal's worth up to $6 million, including add-ons. Charlotte get a 20% sell-on, and keep an eye on that. Portland's getting ready to sign Dutch forward Vincent Janssen. Will not be a DP. Joins as a free agent after leaving Royal Antwerp this summer. Captain and had 13+7 last year. Former Tottenham and Monterrey forward. Let's see. Also, Colorado Rapids finalizing a deal to sign French attacking midfielder Youssef Maziz, free agent after leaving Leuven. TAM signing key attacker complementing Paxton Aronson. Primarily a chance creator priority for the Rapids. Club will continue to be active as well. Let's see. Okay. I think that's the domestic that we have. So let's check in with our buddy Ben Jacobs and see if we're missing anything internationally. Ben just fires off like 98 tweets a day. Literally, he does. Absolutely, he does. So Chelsea optimistic, closing, signing a deal to Danny Welbeck. Talks progressing. Welbeck keen on the move. Women's soccer. Wolfsburg made an offer in the region of €150,000 to sign Caroline Müller-Hansen. Benfica don't want to sell. Players keen on the move. And also reporting the Danny Welbeck move, Kieran Gill from the four-letter paper. So we'll keep an eye on that. Chelsea also working on striker exits. Tola Orokadare set to join Ajax on an initial loan with a buy option, as Fabrizio Romano called it. £17 million plus add-ons if the move is made permanent. Wolves set to receive not only a loan fee, but bonuses if Ajax qualify for Europe, 100% wage coverage by Ajax as well. Wolves are going to get £1 million loan fee and around £500,000 for European qualification. Qatari side, Al Rayyan made initial inquiry on Jadon Sancho, not expected to follow up with further talks. Sancho's exploring all of their options, including possibilities Middle East and Europe. Manchester United confirmed the signing of Wales U21 keeper Kit Margetson. 20-year-old joins following the expiry of his Swansea contract. Swansea's going to get compensation that's already agreed to between the clubs rather than via a tribunal. Wrexham close to signing Danny Imre from Crystal Palace in a deal worth around £5 million, according to Mike McGrath at The Telegraph. Say that 10 times fast. Imre likely to go to a medical this week. And we mentioned Iliman Njai. We mentioned Yan Diomande. And that looks like that one's close. And trying to see York. On this one was interesting. York City confirmed Stuart Maynard left the club just after 3 months leading the club to League Two promotion. York say it was not an easy decision by the board, down to a difference in direction and vision. Apparently, Maynard wanted to find out what the spend was going to be, what he could do, what he couldn't, disagreements in the boardroom about all that. And so Stuart Hawkins leads York City to promotion, one of the most exciting non-league promotion races that we've seen in a long time. York City goes up Stuart Hawkins won't be there, or Stuart Maynard won't be there to be a part of it. So there's a part of that that's going to be attached as well. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And Rich, good to see you. Welcome back. Today it's the U20s. We mentioned the U20s. U20s Antigua and Barbuda and Guatemala, 7 o'clock. Costa Rica, Mexico at 10 o'clock. Those are on FS2. Those are also on Fox ONE. And that's it for today. Just the U20 stuff. And so that will be what is up and running for your viewing pleasures today. And I think, I'm trying to see if there's anything that I wrote down on the weekend. Did you see Mineros and Correcaminos in the Liga Ascenso? Didn't play for the first minute of their matchup this weekend after Liga MX decided, and the FMF decided no promotion relegation in Liga MX going forward. Then it was Flamengo is looking possibly at having investment from individuals based in Saudi Arabia. There's going to be a big vote today involving the EFL and $1.5 billion to help the lower division clubs in England, and what the timeline is going to be for that if that gets passed. There are some clubs in the Premier League that are objecting to the idea. We'll see what the vote is today. Let's see. We mentioned Latte Lot. And, did you see the quick stat that that Al Nassr is apparently the third team that Cristiano Ronaldo has been a part of that has been dealing with debt issues, 3 clubs in a row. And also Farhan Lalji at TSN in Canada was reporting that the owner of the BC Lions is now interested in possibly purchasing BC Place. This is apart from the Whitecaps' interest in it. And so will that add another layer to this whole thing, where the Whitecaps and the Lions would then have discussions about the future of BC Place? Or does this force the Whitecaps to try and go and chase after the stuff that's outside the city, as they have been looking at in the past with Hastings Park and the redevelopment of that site, the former horse race track that is attached there? So we'll keep an eye on that as well. I cannot thank you all enough. Morning, Will, by the way. Morning, Will. Morning, Alex. And morning, Rich. And Abby and Nix. Can't thank you all enough for being a part of this, as you always are. Tomorrow, we're going to get you into the week. We didn't get a chance to get to the twos today, so we'll get into that tomorrow. We've got Andrea Arnold, City Manager, City of Decatur, joining at 9:30. KCD, I believe, is joining us. Casey White's going to be joining us at 10. And then at 10:30, it is going to be a visit to look at Haiti as a soccer-playing nation. Kind of a bit of a deep dive with folks that get to answer these questions and are far smarter than we are. Professor Howard Jean Denis over at Morehouse is going to join us, and he's going to talk about what's going on the island, how difficult it is, what it means to have Haiti still qualified in these competitions, what the World Cup meant. Had the first match against the United States in the U20s. We'll keep an eye on that as well. We got your highlights from the U20s, and we also have post as well to get you ready for the matchup tomorrow, which will be game 2 in the group stage in the U20s down in Mexico, and that'll be on FS2 tomorrow, so we'll keep an eye on all of that. So today, I would ask that you stay as dry as possible and drive as safely as possible, and look for the Clausura to start picks of the week tonight. I am going to be in Carrollton. The soccer over there-ness might be a little on and off, and it might just be posting picks of the week in the Discord for a while, because we're getting into high school football season for me, and we're trying to gauge what's going on with soccer over there on Monday nights. But keep an eye out on the Discord for the Clausura. That's going to begin this week. So whoever won in the Medio joins the winner in the Apertura. Clausura is your third chance to get into Campeón de Campeones for MLS Cup week. But now, until MLS Cup, it's a Clausura. So we're going to determine Campeón de Campeones for MLS Cup going forward. So once again, thanks to all of you folks, as always, for coming in and sharing conversations and breaking bread with us, as you always do on Reaction Mondays. Since it is the end of the show, mucha plata, y'all. Play it safe. And it is now time for me to do this. Back at it again once again. 9:05 a.m. tomorrow for another round of SDH AM. Play it safe, everybody. We'll catch up with you in a little less than 22 hours, 21 hours and 50 minutes. We'll see you in a bit.